We are not doctors. Nothing in this podcast should be taken as medical advice. Consult your physician before starting any workout routine. This is the Martial Heart Podcast.
And hey, how are you? How's everybody doing? Checking recordings, and we're good. Okay, I have to do the redundancy thing. Every time I forget, then I wind up having to go back. Anyway, welcome back to the Martial Art Podcast. How is everybody doing? I'm okay, just okay. A few days ago, I was telling you that, I was sick for a few days. And then when I was better and I went back to work and everything, everybody around us was sick. And, hopefully we wouldn't get that. Well, yeah, now it's time for that one. Some sort of a sinus infection thing. Lots of achy joint things. So, Allison is down with it. She seems to have come down with it about a day and a half before I did. The whole sinus thing started, this morning, probably really hardcore. It started probably yesterday, and I just didn't notice it as much because it's been cold and the weather's been changing and everything, and you kind of get the sniffles sometimes anyway, and I didn't pay much attention to it. So there we are. Some sort of a sinus thing, sinus headache, pounding, all that kind of stuff. But not so bad. I mean, I'm not going to die or anything. It's just, we got to get it over with before Thanksgiving so that we can have everybody over and do the normal Thanksgiving thing. We don't want anyone getting sick from us, thanks to, coming over and celebrating a holiday with us. But, we'll get through it, and it seems to be a pretty fast, passing thing. So the people we know who had it, we're over it in a couple of days, 2 or 3 days, they felt, better. Everything was fine. So that's what we're hoping for. It'll do that. But guess what? Hey, there's my weekend in a nutshell. I'm going to be sitting at home with a sinus infection and a sinus headache, feeling like crap. So won't have time to do anything. It's going to be cold and rainy and garbagey all weekend anyway, so there wasn't a whole lot I was going to be able to do other than do things inside the house anyway. So I'll probably work out a little bit even though I don't feel well. It's okay. It's supposed to hurt anyway, so you might as well do it while you're sick too. So what's the difference? But I am really sore from cardiac rehab last night because we got back on the elliptical and got on the different elliptical this time. Got on the one that's designed for more like jogging, a light run or fast walk kind of thing. And instead of the one that was designed for outright running that I was on before, that man, I did not like it at all. So I did 15 minutes on this other elliptical, and it was a lot more tolerable for all of me. It still bothered my knee a lot, but I don't think anything's not going to bother my knee a lot other than bicycling. Cycling seems to not bother it much at all. Rowing doesn't really seem to bother it that much. But it looks like ellipticals, treadmills, jogging, anything like that is going to have the same effect. But I did it. I did it for 15 minutes, and then I switched over to that hand bike thing, which isn't doing much for my cardio, so I just need to stop doing it. I like it because it's an arm and shoulder workout. And so I'm, kind of cheating because it's not really elevating my heart rate above like 110. The elliptical had my heart rate up to 131, so I think that's the highest that it had been at and, stayed for any length of time since I've been doing cardiac rehab. So that's a good thing. That's a positive sign that my heart rate can get up there and, stay there for a 15-minute or so duration while I'm doing cardio and not have any ill effects. I didn't feel anything bad other than tired and sweaty. So I'm going to wind up, by the way, just because it's an elliptical that's more, you know, I don't know, appropriate for what I'm going to be doing, it still sucks. The elliptical sucks. It's a good workout. So the fact that it sucks means that I'm definitely going to, continue doing it. We have an elliptical here at home. It's a compact elliptical, and the leg movements are very short. And it's a really good workout. It wears you out really fast. But this one is kind of like medium. The level of intensity, I gave it a 6 on a scale from 1 to 10 that they come around and they show you the pictures. It's almost like the pain chart, but it's a level of exertion. How difficult is this exercise for you? And I'm honest most of the time. And I tell them what you have me doing right now is really not, I don't even know how to rate it. I can do this all day because I'm just walking, and that's what I do all day. I'm on my feet walking all day long, pretty much. So if you want me to just walk, I can do that for the next 8 hours if that's what you want me to do, but it's probably not going to elevate my heart rate. And if it sucks, I tell them, oh, this is probably a 6. This sucks. So I rated it a 6. That's as high as anything has gotten so far, but we're going to see because, I'm starting to wonder. I wonder if Jacqueline is listening to the podcast, because I've mentioned several times that as I'm improving my cardiovascular health, and I quit smoking, so I'm breathing better now. I have better oxygen flow. My arteries are opened up. I'm getting more blood. Everything. My endurance is improving because of the cardiac rehab stuff and the recovery. So the thing was, will I ever become a runner or start jogging or anything again? And I kept saying, no, nah, probably not. I might try it, but I'm definitely not a runner. And it's probably not something that's going to happen, but maybe I'll try it to see how it goes. And sorry, I'm yawning because I'm tired. It's been a long day. And so, your responses and your ideas about those things change sometimes when a pretty girl asks you. So, what are you going to do? I mean, when a pretty girl says, do you think you're going to want to try some jogging or something before we're done? Because that would probably then be the next step. It's pretty good, and you're going to be finishing up soon, so, And instead of going, no, I'm not going to be running on the treadmill. Thank you for the offer. I was like, why not? I might as well try it. I've done everything else. I got to see, what I can do and what I can't do. So, what the hell? So sometime in the next couple of weeks, I'm probably going to be jogging on the treadmill or doing interval type stuff, because we talked about it. The impact on my knee and how it's just going to be, bad, and it's going to suck and I'm going to hate it. So it's kind of, maybe we'll try interval stuff. So I'm just like running for short distances and then going back to a fast walk and back and forth instead of, any kind of endurance test of my knee. And I just thought it was funny. And when I thought about it this morning, I was like, I've been saying I'm not going to be a jogger and a runner and everything this whole time. And all it took was for her to say, hey, you want to try some running? And I'm like, yeah, sure, let's go. Whatever. Because you don't want to say no. You don't want to, oh, I can't handle that. I'm too weak and I'm too old and frail. So I don't know. I'm going to have to try it now. I didn't want to try the elliptical either. And I've been doing that. And I'm going to keep doing that because it sucks. And I keep telling people that. There's no strength without struggle. That's my motto. And so the elliptical is the same thing. I'm not going to improve those motions, those muscle groups that I'm working specifically on the elliptical. They're not going to get better if I just don't do it. So it's got to suck. You have to struggle. You have to put pressure and tension on those muscles in order to get them to strengthen up so that they become more attuned to that type of movement. And so, yeah, it sucks, but the fact that it sucks means I'll probably go back and do it some more, because I know that's what's actually going to help me, or the things that I don't enjoy doing. So if you could just go into the gym every day and you're doing the things that you like doing, the things that are easy for you to do, then hey, guess what? You're not improving. I don't know, maybe you will a little bit. But if you're just a bench press guy and every time you go there, you're just working on your bench press maximum and all that stuff, you're just trying to improve your bench, then you're going to look like that, that cartoon that says don't skip leg day. But you're just not going to get any better. And it's not benefiting you at all, in my opinion. It's not. You might think it is, but I don't think it is. And so my cardio, my endurance in my legs, those kind of things, but it sucks because I haven't really, like I said, I haven't really concentrated on that in a lot of years. So I'm working on that's kind of what cardiac rehab has been doing. It's just been working on that section of my fitness. So hey, I'm going to do it. And whether I keep doing it forever or not is the question. I don't know. It's possible. It depends on if I can tolerate some kind of jogging or running. If it's just going to be, fast walking uphill is all my knees can take, or, rowing and biking in addition to that, then fine. But if I can get a little bit of a jog in, maybe jog for a mile or two, I would feel good about that, about my fitness level, just the fact that I could do that. But it's going to hurt my knees and my hip and my lower back are going to be killing me. So will I be doing it all the time? No, but I might, make myself do it now and then just to show that I can still do it, to convince myself that, hey, you still got it. You can go run for a mile or so before you die. And, you just go with it. So I'm going to try that. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see what happens next week. See how I'm feeling. I'm assuming it's going to be an abbreviated week of cardiac rehab because it's Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving Day is going to be one of the days that I would normally go to cardiac rehab. So I'm sure I'll be skipping that. They're probably closed and enjoying their own Thanksgivings. I keep looking down here because I decided to shorten some of the cords and stuff that I'm using. And sorry to anybody who's just listening and not watching on YouTube or something. I may have made it a little too short. So now every time I move around, I'm tugging on this thing. So I keep messing with it. Stop messing with it. That's what I do. I mess around with things. And that's something else that I have to stop doing, is doing things visually so people can see them. And then the people who are just listening on Spotify or on Audible or wherever, they have no idea what I'm doing, because the only place you're going to see the video is on YouTube. So, and that's if I upload it, because I have to upload it as a separate file again. And so hopefully I remember to do it, because I can upload. Here's how it works. I think I've explained it before, but I'm going to go through it again. I have to do the recording, and then I have to check the audio levels. And if anything needs to be boosted, then I have to boost it. You have to do all this other stuff. And then I can load it into the audio program, and it extracts the audio from the video. And then that's what I send over to the podcast host, because they only do audio podcasting. They don't do video. So that goes to them. And then I have to take the video file and go to YouTube and anywhere else that I plan on uploading it, and upload the video file. So it's a little bit complicated, but it doesn't take that long. And like I've explained before, I'm trying to do this so that there's the least amount of post-processing, hopefully none, and then I just move on. So it's not that, that portion of it, just uploading the video, takes very long. It takes an extra 10 minutes maybe, depending on how long the thing is. But it's, overall, it's not that big of a deal. But that's how it's done. So there might be days that I forget to upload the video version, or I might forget to upload the audio version. So it may not show up for a couple of days because I forgot. I'll get too into editing or trying to get the video together, and then the audio only version of it gets, I forget to upload it. So, but I haven't forgotten much in the last couple of weeks, except just forgotten to do it because I didn't feel like it. So, have I done one since I moved everything around? I moved everything around again. If you're watching on the video, the background's different than it was a week ago, and all this other stuff. Because even though I moved into this other room, we moved the desk and the computer and the recording space into this other room. I kept moving it around inside this room, so now I think it's where it's going to stay, whether it's good or not. I think I have to just leave it. But the audio wasn't working, and it's another one of those things where the people listening to the podcast probably can't tell. They probably can't hear it, and it's not a big deal. But it was to me. For some reason, it became a big deal to me. And I kept hearing this echo, and I think it was because of the angle of the desk. I had a wall next to me, and it was just reverberating right off of that wall into the microphone. But I liked the angle of that shot, and so that's why I set up the desk and everything that way. But it turned out that I was just going to have a weird echo, and it was probably faint, and a lot of people didn't even notice it. And they don't even notice that I have two cameras sometimes. But I don't know, it bothered me enough that I had to change it. So now that's the spare room there that you're looking at. And I left some things sitting on the bed over there. So ignore that. I'll cover it up with the mic boom arm. You won't be able to see it. See, it's brand new. And no, for those of you watching who are looking to the lower right portion of the screen, that's not a roll of toilet paper. It's not. It's a roll of paper towels that I was using to clean up some stuff. And I left it there. All right, I didn't plan this episode very well visually, but that's I made those sound panels back there that are on that wall. There are other ones in front of me that you can't see, and I'm probably going to make some more because they help with the sound. But I think I'm going to have to leave it right here. And I think the sound quality in this room is as good as it's going to get until I get a little better sound, not soundproofing, but sound treatment going, in the immediate area. So I'm hitting those reflections off of the walls that are closest to me. I have some right in front of me, and I think it'll be okay. I need to put something above the recording space, but Allison won't let me. She said that would look stupid. I'm like, well, nobody's going to see it unless they're in the room here with us, or they stay over and they're going to sleep in that bed. They might see it and they wonder, what the hell's that thing up there? But so there's nothing stopping the reflections of sound directly above the recording space, and that's like a no. That's one of the number one things that you're supposed to do is catch that above your head. And she's probably not going to be able to, unless I find a way to make it very decorative and cool. Then she might accept that. But I told her, this is your room. I'm just going to put a desk in here and use it as a recording space. So do whatever you want. So if she doesn't want a thing hanging from the ceiling, then I'm just not going to be able to do it. Maybe I'll build a little canopy that you can't see in the videos. I could do that actually. I'm a fairly handy guy. I can build stuff. Well, maybe I'll do that. Who knows? But it'll have to be something that I can take down real quick and put in the closet, hide over there so nobody can see it, and just pull it out when I'm doing a recording. But cardiac rehab, as I've said several times before, in cardiac rehab, you go there, you put on your heart monitor, then they take your blood pressure, and then there's typically a class that you go through that's an educational thing about heart conditions, health and fitness, blood pressure, things like that. And I have been through all of the classes that are part of this program. So for the last 2 or 3 sessions, I don't have a class that I have to sit in on. So even if the other people are having a class on something, I don't have to because I've already had it. So I just immediately go and warm up and then go do my cardio. So it's actually taking about 15, almost 20 minutes out of the length of time that I'm at cardiac rehab. But they're going over topics that we went over before that I wound up not discussing here on the podcast, because that was originally one of the things that I thought I would do. Is I would come home and sit down and do a podcast and show you what we went over in our class, and then talk about, the rehab session and things like that, and then talk about other stuff. And I really haven't done that. I have a stack of them because I have all of the documents that come with it, and I have a folder, the whole thing. So maybe I'll wind up doing that. We can revisit cardiac rehab in the future. But the class last night was on reading your nutrition labels on food, and how they can be misleading, and how they can be, it might look like it's something that's going to be healthy for you, but it's not, because they hide the different things, the way they rate the ingredients and stuff like that, and then you have to judge by the average number of calories in there, or it's based on a 2,000 calorie diet and things like that. And maybe you're not going to be using 2,000 calories. So if you're following those food labels, then you're going to be putting on weight. And then there's the whole conversation about having a caloric deficit. And if you're not into fitness, you're not into staying fit and trim, then you've probably never heard that term. But the basics of it are, you have to be at a caloric deficit, meaning you have to be burning more calories than you're taking in on a daily basis in order to lose weight. The end. That's everything. When people ask, how do you lose weight? Or how do you stay trim? Or anything like that, that's the answer. Stop eating so much. It's literally that easy. And I don't mean that not eating that much is easy, but the answer is that easy. You have to be at a caloric deficit in order to lose weight. If you are not at a caloric deficit, you are not going to lose weight. And the opposite has to be true if you want to gain weight. So, I don't know. Okay, I'll tell you about when I was a kid. I was a skinny kid, and I decided that in high school, was I in high school? Yes, I was in high school. I think I was probably a sophomore, and I was going to wrestle. So I was in California. I was going to school in California, and I don't know, I'm going to do wrestling. So I'm going to do the weight training. Like, we had this whole program where we would go into the weight room once a week or whatever it was, and we exercised all the time, but then we would do the wrestling training. And I happened to weigh the same as like the most competitive division in the area. So, and having not been a wrestler all the way through elementary school and junior high and that kind of stuff, like most people who are into wrestling are doing, I was kind of a beginner in that level. So I wound up being in the most competitive weight class that there was. And so the coach thought, a good thing for me to do would be to put on weight. I could pack on some muscle and go up a weight class or two. And then, it might not be as much of a big deal because it's less competitive. And I won't be facing like the previous state champions and stuff every time when we went to a wrestling meet. And he gave me a big can of Joe Weider's weight gain shake stuff. Now, we're not talking about the MetRx stuff or the fancy stuff that Joe Rogan wants people to, drink, or, the stuff that's, sponsors the UFC and those kind of things. It's not like that. The original stuff, Joe Weider was like, I don't know, he was kind of considered the godfather of bodybuilding, professional bodybuilding, I guess. It was something like that, but he was like the expert that people went to, I guess, for their nutritional advice. And he had all sorts of products out there. And at the time, he was pretty much the only one who was putting out, a specific line of things that were for bodybuilding and health and fitness, as far as I know. It was the only name that I knew of in that industry back then. Because we're talking about the early 80s, early and mid 80s. So most of the guys, when you would watch them, if they did a documentary or watching interviews with them and they were getting their protein, they were like just throwing 6 raw eggs into their mixer and throwing in a thing of cocoa and some strawberries or whatever, and it just looked like the grossest thing ever. And they would just blend it up and drink it because they were doing whatever they had to do to just get protein into their bodies. And that's another topic that we'll discuss. But they gave me that candy. It was like, make 2 of these shakes a day and drink them, and that'll add however many calories to your diet. And it was healthy calories too. I mean, it was good stuff. And there was a lot of protein. And it was stuff designed to help you gain muscle mass and not put on fat and all that stuff. I didn't gain a pound. I lost a pound. And it was about a month's worth of this product. I didn't gain any weight whatsoever. And he was dumbfounded. And basically, I wasn't eating enough food as it was. So I was only eating once a day. I was skipping breakfast. Most of the time when I was at school, if I did eat something, it was very small at lunch. I didn't eat a lot for lunchtime or anything. And then between school and going to work, I might stop by the local taco stand. There was a place that I really enjoyed called Noggles. And Noggles made these gargantuan burritos. And like today we have Chipotle, and they're wrapped up burritos the way they used to be anyway. It was a big fat thing. That's what Noggles were like, and they were longer though, and they would make these gigantic burritos, and I would get 2 of them and I would eat them, and that would be my dinner or whatever. Sometimes I would eat one, and they made these like Mexican burgers, and so I would just do that, and the rest of the day I was just, drinking sugary things and probably just smoking. And it was a good appetite suppressant. But I couldn't gain weight for anything. And I was in good shape. I was physically fit. I was strong. I was muscular, but I was just skinny. And, well, not really skinny. I was just slim, and I couldn't put on any weight. So I wound up staying in these competitive classes. But I didn't start putting on weight until I began to understand the dietary issues, the dietary requirements for that sort of stuff. And that kind of came later in life, where I would just work out all the time, and I would put on some muscle mass just through like sheer will, I guess. And I was eating, but not eating correctly probably. And that went on for years. And then when I finally learned about the diet, and it was actually my brother who kind of put me onto that. He started doing it himself, and he's the one who told me, oh, you got to follow these guidelines or it's not going to work. And so I started paying attention to that and reading articles and doing some research. And you figure out what your protein intake and your other stuff, your caloric intake and things are going to have to be in order for you specifically to put on muscle mass or just put on weight at all, or to lose weight. And so the answer to it's one or the other. If you want to lose weight, you have to be at a caloric deficit. You have to be burning more calories than you are taking in. And if you want to put on weight or put on muscle mass, you have to be taking in more than you're going to burn. Otherwise, you're just burning it off. But it's a little bit different when you're putting on muscle, because your muscles are healing and growing and, things like that. So you need your extra proteins and your acids and those sorts of things. And all that water that you're drinking is being absorbed into those freshly growing muscles and things, and the repairs for all of those muscles. Because essentially when you get into the gym and you're lifting heavy weights all the time, what you're doing is tearing your muscles down. And they grow when they are healing, because they're expanding, they're growing, they're healing, and they're building new muscle in there. So you can't constantly be in a state of tearing your muscles down either. You have to rest. You have to have those rest days. And that's something that a lot of people neglect, but they don't understand. Trying to put on muscle mass, so you have to give your muscles time to rest and heal in between those, difficult sessions. But anyway, people have asked me a lot over the years, like, how do you, stay trim? Or, hey, do you have any recommendations on how I can lose weight? Yeah, stop eating so much. And I didn't make any friends by saying that, because they want to hear, well, if you just change this and eat more broccoli and do these sorts of things, it will, your life will change. No, it won't. You have to stop eating so much. That's the absolute bottom line. You have to be burning more calories than you're eating. There's no simpler way to put it. So that was part of the discussion tonight, or last night rather, that other people were getting into. And I don't have these conversations with them. I don't talk about these things. I don't bring it up and start telling people, the very simplistic view of, weight and nutrition, because I don't know these people. I'm not trying to make any friends, but I'm not trying to make any new enemies either by telling you you're fat and you have to stop eating so much, because people don't want to hear that. They want to hear, well, yeah, if you, just cut back a little. No. And there's ways to do it. There are. And one of the things for me was actually, I think, eating habits, not so much what I was eating, but my eating habits, because my mother always described it as I ate like a bird. And that was really true. Would probably still be true today if I didn't love so many bad foods, the things that I shouldn't be eating. But, I would eat a little bit here and there throughout the day. And I took small bites. I didn't try to shove my mouth full of food. It was, I took small bites. I ate slowly. And I wound up, by doing that, I would wind up not eating very much each time I sat down to eat something. And then I would just eat throughout the day. And that was how I never really got overweight until later on in life, when I was eating extra, because I was trying to get an extra protein, because I was putting on muscle mass, and I was always, like I said, I was always bulking up, and I never did the trim down phase. But there were times when I had to stop lifting weights and I had to stop working out that way, but I didn't stop eating that way. And so, yeah, you wind up putting on some weight. And I was a chunky butt, a couple of times through my life, because, you change your lifestyle or your exercise routines, or you have to stop exercising, but you don't stop all that extra eating that you're used to doing, because you've been living that way for a long time, for years even, trying to put on muscle mass, but now you're just eating. You aren't doing anything to burn them off or to turn those calories into muscle or anything else. So it just goes right to your gut, in my case. And it never went to my butt, though. Never went to my ass. I never had a big ass. So I don't know. I just wasn't genetically blessed that way. So when I put on weight, it just goes right to my belly. That's about it. It's all right there, upper body stuff. And, but I would have to, start changing the way I ate and what I was doing for exercise in order to fix that. And that's the only thing that does fix it. There's no magic bullet. And yeah, there's a lot of things that will help. people who struggle with those things. So I'm not against those things. But the thing that has to happen is you have to change your habits. You have to change your lifestyle, or all of those things are going to be temporary. All of it's temporary. Every diet is temporary. Every injection is temporary. Every operation is temporary. So until you change your habits, you don't change. So you're relying on something external for those changes in your life, and it's really right in there in your brain and in your heart. Like, do I want this, and what am I willing to do to get it? And you have to change your life. You have to change the way you live. And I'm preaching to myself as much as anybody else, because I talked about health and fitness for decades with other people and helped other people. I used to teach other people how to be more fit, and I used to help people in the military get better at passing their PT tests and different things like that. And I took some fellow NCOs who were failing their PT tests half the time, and took them to the gym and helped them work out and kind of taught them the proper way to work out in order to be able to pass a PT test, without having to worry about it. Like any day of the week, if they wanted to give you a PT test, you could pass it, and taught them what was necessary for those kind of things. And then I'd go out and have a smoke. We would be in the gym for an hour and a half, lifting weights, doing stair steppers or riding on a bike, and then lifting heavy things, and being impressive and looking at yourself in the mirror. And then I'd go outside and sit down and have a couple of cigarettes, and then not sleep, sleep for like 4 hours. And then, sometimes you just skip food altogether for 2 or 3 days in a row. And then, I had one of the least healthy lifestyles. The only thing I was doing right was my exercise routine, and a lot of times my eating habits, because I was trying to manage my muscle mass with my diet. So a lot of the times I paid close attention to what I was eating and how much, but most of the time the only thing I was doing right was what I was doing in the gym. Once I got out of the gym, all bets were off. I was going to go have a couple of beers and smoke all day. And so I looked good though, that's what counts, right? For those of you who are too young to know what it means it's better to look good than to feel good. That's an old Saturday Night Live routine with Billy Crystal. You can look it up. You look marvelous. So, and it's, when we have those classes, I have to sit there and not say anything, because I have all of these opinions that you just heard, and I try not to share them with anybody. So now I've shared them with the world. And now, I don't know, you can turn the podcast off now if you want. So, and that's okay. It's the painful truths of life sometimes. And I don't know if that helps anybody or not. It may not, but we lie to ourselves a lot. And that's one of the greatest lies, I think, that people tell themselves, is that they don't have to put in the work. That there's some other answer, and there really isn't. There's answers that can help you. There are things that can help you. It can give you a boost. It can give you a leg up or whatever. But in the end, if you don't make those changes to your lifestyle, nope, you're not doing it. You're going to go right back to your old habits, and nobody's going to be happy. So anyway, I don't bother telling people that when we have classes on nutrition and exercise and things like that, because I just act like I don't know anything, just like everybody else. I'm like, oh, I had a heart attack. Obviously, I don't know anything about health and fitness. So I'm going to sit here quietly and let them tell me, what I should be eating and what I shouldn't be eating. And that's how I do it. That's how I roll. I'm so quiet in this thing, and it's very weird, because I'm normally not. I don't know. Sometimes I'm a very quiet person. I used to be told that I was quiet all the time, but that usually just meant that I didn't want to talk to you, and I would talk to other people. So I wasn't always quiet. Sometimes, and I had a lot of issues of my own too. I stayed inside my head a lot. But yeah, it's unlike me, really. Most of the people who know me, it's unlike me to keep my opinions to myself. But I do in cardiac rehab, and I think it probably has a lot to do with me having the opinion of I really have no point. I have no place talking about it. I have no place telling anybody else what to do with their health and fitness because look at me, I'm in here because I had a heart attack. And, I even though a lot of it's genetic, your arterial issues can be genetic, your heart disease can be genetic, and that's to a large extent, that's what's to blame for you having a heart attack or having clogged arteries and stuff. Your lifestyle and your diet and stuff do play a part. So I kind of feel like I'm in here because of my own screw ups. Hey, I didn't do it right, so I don't have I don't have that moral high ground to be able to preach to anyone else and tell them how they need to be doing it or giving other people advice right now on that stuff because I'm like, yeah, look at me. I'm here. I'm in cardiac rehab having to do cardio at my age, when I should have been doing this my whole life. I might not have had a heart attack if I did that. But, to me, working out was for something else, It was to be fit and to be healthy, but a different kind of fit and healthy. It was all about being strong and looking good, That was it. There wasn't any, I want to live forever. No, it was you want to die, fast and fiery, and all they can find is blood and hair, and okay, that's Mike Harris, a guy I was roommates with in the Army, had this thing about blood and hair. He's like, yeah, you know what? Someday they're gonna diagnose me with some terminal disease, and I'm just gonna end it all. I'm just gonna drive one of my hot rods right into a bridge embankment. Right into the overpass. I'm going to do it so fast, all they're going to find is blood and hair. That was his motto, blood and hair. And yeah, so anyway, that's what I meant when I said that. Yeah, Mike was a weird guy. Everybody was a weird guy. It was the 80s. So anyhow, yeah, I think a lot of times maybe I get a little sheepish because I'm like, obviously I don't know any more than you guys do because I'm here too. Funnier than that, one of our patients is a cardiologist. Yes, he's a heart surgeon, and he's in there too because he had a heart attack. And so nobody is immune, I suppose. But, most of them you can tell they didn't spend a whole lot of time exercising at all or paying attention to what they were eating. But, I did for a lot of years, and it didn't make any difference. We're both sitting in there in the same thing, wearing a heart monitor, and listening to 20-something girls explain to us about nutrition because they actually understand it, and we had heart attacks. But anyway, I don't know. That's my ramble for today, and I don't know. I don't have anything else to say. I think I've said enough. I think there's enough people who don't like me anyway. I don't need to make any new enemies. So, I'm going to go now. It's the weekend. My head is pounding. That could be the reason why why I've come across a little bitchy. Because I have a headache. It's a sinus thing. But, yeah, heading into the weekend, I'll probably put together another podcast or two. And because I won't have anything else to do, so they might be very special because I might feel like crap. And so we'll see how I do with a headache and what I decide to talk about. So anyway, everybody, have a good weekend. Enjoy yourselves, and if I don't talk to you before Thanksgiving, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Enjoy your days off, and just have fun. Go out there. But don't forget to exercise. Go ahead and eat extra on Thanksgiving. You know what? Have the stuffing. Have the mashed potatoes. Have that extra turkey. I eat the legs. I don't like the white meat breast. So anyway, go ahead and eat it. Just go get on the treadmill for the next couple of days and work it off. All right. Ciao.